Hello, my friend. Welcome to the Chronically podcast. I'm your host, Aimee Esther, and today we are talking about feeling like our old selves again. How often do we think that? I wish I felt like my old self, or I finally feel like my old self. We're going to talk about that today. If you live chronically ill like me and are looking for more purpose, control, and joy in your life, then you are in the right place. This is the podcast that challenges your thinking around chronic illness so you can live the most amazing life despite extra challenges. Are you ready? Let's go. Hello, welcome back to the podcast. Today I have been thinking about something and I have honestly a lot of scattered thoughts, and so hopefully this will make sense as I kind of word vomit all of this out. And head to the YouTube version of this podcast and let's talk in the comments if you have any other thoughts and ideas about this, because it's just been on my mind a lot lately. So I've been thinking a lot about this idea of feeling like myself. So I am currently pregnant. When you're watching this, I am only a few weeks away from giving birth, but this pregnancy, I have found myself saying, I don't feel like myself. I feel off, or I miss my old self. And I was thinking about it because I was listening to Leopsky's Life. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's a YouTube channel. She does like mom vlogs. And she said, she's about a year after having her baby, and said, I finally feel like myself again. And that's kind of what triggered this thought for me of, what does that even mean? Like, I say that all the time, and yet what does that mean to say I feel like I'm not my old self, or I want to be my old self, or I just don't feel like myself, or saying I'm finally back to myself, I finally feel like myself again? What does that even mean? What even is my true self? Who is that? And then I started thinking, what if this, as I am now, was actually my true self? I don't know. I'm currently pregnant and I have a lot of hormones raging inside my body. And so I find that I am more emotional than I normally am. I am feeling physically worse than I normally am. And I always have physical symptoms, but I'm feeling a lot worse. And I just emotionally, mentally, physically don't feel right. I just feel off. But we're always changing. We are ever-changing beings. So who's to say what my true self is? Like, is it myself without these raging hormones? Or are these still me? Because technically, like, I'm still in Aimee Esther's body. I am still Aimee Esther. That's who I am. Whatever I say and do and think is still me. Yet why do I feel like I'm not me? Why do I feel off? Why do I feel like I'm not myself right now? So interesting. And then I started thinking about chronic illness and how often I have thought I feel like I'm back to my old self when I'm having a really good day physically. I've had a few times where I just have this physical high. Like, I just feel so much better. I feel a lot less sick. And so I think, wow, I feel like I'm back to my old self. I can do the things I want to do. I have energy to do things. Emotionally, I feel better. And yet, really, my true self is chronically ill, right? My self, most of the time, is chronically ill. So why do I think I feel more like myself when I'm not chronically ill? Isn't that interesting? Because, like, I'm still Aimee Esther no matter what. Whether I'm having the biggest flare of my life or whether I'm having the best day, right? So I know I have a lot of thoughts here, and really, I hope this isn't the most scattered podcast ever, but it just might be, okay? Yeah, it might be. But I do feel like certain things can cause us to not be ourselves. Like, there are physical things that can happen to us that change us, like hormones, right? Certain hormones, women, whether you've been pregnant or not, know what this is like when it's your time of the month and you feel hormonal and extra emotional and you feel all these extra things, as well as physical symptoms. You feel extra physical symptoms and it just kind of makes you feel off.
I like to think of the Snickers commercial where they say, "You're not you when you're hungry." And that's so true. Now, I don't recommend eating a Snickers if you're hungry. Probably not the best thing for you in that moment. But I mean, we've all felt that. We've all felt hangry before. We actually get angry and more emotional when we don't eat regularly. And I think we've all experienced that. There's a reason that hangry has become a word. Or if you don't sleep well, it actually changes things in your body and it makes it harder to think positively. At least for me, it makes it harder to function normally. If you are depressed, it makes it so hard to feel positive, right? It's almost impossible. Dare I say, it is impossible to feel positive when you're depressed. And when you're anxious, it's really, really difficult to feel content, to feel happy in a lot of ways, right? And so physical things can change us. And so who is our true self? And even with this pregnancy, I have been craving donuts like nobody's business. I don't know why. I never have liked donuts in my life. I've never chosen to eat a donut. I mean, if there was one at a party growing up, yeah, I'd probably have one because it was there. But I never would go out and choose one. I would much rather choose many other things than a donut. And yet this pregnancy, I've been craving donuts like crazy and clearly not the best thing for my physical health. And yet I can't stop thinking about donuts. And so these hormones are actually making me think about donuts. I know that because I've never done that in my life. I've never wanted a donut in my life yet. The past few months of this pregnancy, I think about donuts every single day. And I'm not even kidding. My daughter told me the other day, "Mom, should you stop eating donuts because they're not very healthy for you?" My 3-year-old told me that. So I definitely have a problem right now, but it's clearly not me because when I'm not pregnant, I do not think about donuts. And yet it still is me, right? I know this is so scattered. It's just, I don't know. I'm just thinking about lots of things because I am in my physical body. I'm Aimee Esther eating donuts, and yet it's not my typical self. And maybe that's what it is. It's what is your typical self? That is who you are. Maybe, I don't even know. So this really made me think, when do I feel like, quote, myself? And for me, I find that it's when I'm doing things that I enjoy doing, that I am able to enjoy my life, that I'm enjoying things. And I feel like it really is when I feel emotionally well and sane. I feel like there's no cloud over my head. There's no fog physically and emotionally, right? That is when I feel like my true self, when there's not a fog there. And it's so hard to even explain, but I feel like hopefully you understand what I'm saying, or maybe you have a completely different definition of it. But when I feel like myself, it's when I feel emotionally content with my life. It's got to be it. Even though my whole life is ups and downs, even when I'm not pregnant anymore, there will be days where I feel off and I don't feel like myself. But in general, I think when I am, quote, myself are the times when I am able to physically do things that bring me joy and feel emotionally well and sane. I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments of the YouTube version. What does it feel like to be yourself? So then I was thinking, how can I get there? Is it possible that where I'm at right now, I can be my true self, even though I have extra hormones in my body, even though I'm physically ill because of my chronic illnesses? Can I be, as I am right now, with depression, with hormones, with chronic illness, can I be myself? Maybe. I honestly, I don't know the answer, but a few things that I thought of that we could try. We'll try them together. The first is to decide, who is my true self, right? Who is she? Because if I don't know who she is, then how can I get there, right? So I like to sit and, okay, can we describe her? What does she think about during the day? My true self, the self that I want to be, my ideal self, maybe that's who it is. It's my ideal self. Who is she? What does she think about? What does she do? Who does she hang out with? What does she like? What does she dislike? What challenges her? What excites her? What does she feel emotionally? What does she feel physically? What makes her happy? What makes her sad? Who is she? Let's describe her, because we need to know who she is first, right? Or he. If you're a he, obviously replace he or any other term you would like. But for me, who is she? And then I like to think, okay, when was the last time in my life that I felt like her? And for me, it was right before I got pregnant this time. I have been nursing and pregnant on and off for the past 4 years now. And I think that has made me not feel fully myself, because I literally have had a child growing inside me, or I've literally been feeding a child with my body, breastfeeding. And I had a few months where I wasn't. And I remember thinking, I finally feel like myself again. And then I decided to get pregnant again. And here we are. Maybe we'll get there again. But I like to think about when was the last time I felt that. And what I realized was, in all honesty, it's not very often. Like, do you find that for you? The quote, feel like myself, doesn't happen very often. And I think it's because it really is an emotional state. It's where we feel emotionally well and sane. There's no clouds of our head. There's no extra trials and stress and extra things going on. There's no extra symptoms we're feeling. Or if there are, as with chronic illness, we've managed them well enough that they don't interfere with our mental state, right? It's like, how do we feel mentally? If I feel emotionally sane and I don't feel this dark cloud over my head, that's when I feel like, quote, myself. And realizing that it doesn't happen very often has really made me think about it. Like, why do I desire it so much if it's so rare? Like, yes, it feels really good in that moment, but what if instead I tried to make this moment my true self? I don't know. Again, this is just something to think about. Just these thoughts that I'm word vomiting onto you. And so I wanted to think about, how can I get her back, that ideal version of myself, that true me, if you will. How do I get her back exactly as I am now? Is that possible? Because as much as I want to say, oh, for me, as when I'm not pregnant anymore, I'll be back to myself. Or when this isn't happening anymore, then I'll be back to myself. But like, I'm always going to be chronically ill. At least, maybe, I don't know. For this foreseeable future, I'll probably be chronically ill for quite a long time. So if that's true, and I'm still going to have trials, whether I'm chronically ill or not, I'm still going to have clouds over my head, if you will. Can I make my true self, my ideal self, right now as I am? So I like to tell myself, if I were her, what would I be thinking right now? So in a moment where I'm laying on the couch, I'm in so much pain, I'm miserable, and I'm thinking, I just wish I was back to my old self, then I think, if I was my old self right now as I am, with the pain, with the symptoms, laying on the couch, what would I be thinking right now? Well, I'd probably be more positive, because my true self, who I think is my true self, my best self, I feel like that's more what it is, right? My best self, my ideal self, is someone who's more positive, who doesn't get down on the little things, who doesn't let the hard days get to her. And so if she was my ideal self laying on the couch in pain, she wouldn't be thinking, poor me, this sucks. She'd be thinking, maybe this could be the best day. What if today, as I'm laying on the couch, was actually a super fun day? And if I thought that way, what would I do? How would I act? How would I show up? What would I say? Right? If I was that version of me, how would I act, and how would I show up, and how would I think? And when I think of her as almost like a different person that I'm trying to become, it actually makes it easier to get there, because I'm thinking of her as a real person that could come into my body and be me for a second. And if she could be me, what would she be like? And then I just naturally start to think a little more the way she's thinking. Even just putting on this idea, like, if she were here, what would she do? What would she think? Because it is possible. It's possible to be your true self, whether you have all the symptoms all at the same time, whether you have multiple chronic illnesses, whether you are pregnant, whether you are struggling as a young mom, whether you are struggling through school, whether you are struggling with whatever it is that's going on in your life. It's possible to be your, quote, true self in that moment. It is. And I think for me, I often think, like, once this thing is over, once I'm through this, then I'll be back to my old self. But what if I found her now? What if she was able to come and be with me right now. So I imagine her as a separate person saying, if she were here, how would she act? What would she think about? And in doing so, I actually act and think more in that way. And I think when I think of my true self, my ideal self, I think she's doing the things that I want to do. She's having time for herself every day is kind of a thought that comes through my mind. Like she has time to read scriptures, have devotional time, to journal, to do yoga, to take a hot shower. And when I think, oh, but I'm pregnant, so I can't take a hot shower right now. Guess I can't do that. Oh, but I'm pregnant, so I need to sleep in. Oh, but I'm chronically ill, so I need to get more sleep. Oh, but I have young kids, and so I just don't have time to myself. Well, can I do the things I want to do where I'm at right now? Can I ask for more help from my spouse or from someone else so that I can have time to myself? Can I wake up earlier, even if it affects my physical health? Would that be more my true self? Or would my true self sleep in and not have time to herself? Or can I adapt? Maybe I adapt and some of my devotional time is with my kids. Or maybe I adapt and I can't take a hot shower because I'm pregnant. Maybe I could take an Epsom salt bath in some warm water instead of taking a steaming hot shower like I would like to. Can we adapt what we're doing to still find the things that create our true self, the things that make us feel emotionally good and well? Because when I have those times in my life where I have all of that, I feel emotionally better. So can I bring that on right now? I don't know. Again, just kind of spitballing lots of ideas here, but it is possible. It is possible to adapt and find time for myself, or to find a way to do the thing that is my true self. My true self used to be a dancer. Can't really do that anymore. Don't have the physical energy. So instead, I've taken up yoga. And it's similar. It's adapting. Sometimes my whole yoga is just laying in corpse pose, aka laying flat on the ground for 10 minutes. And yet I get that feel that I used to get when I used to dance. So can we adapt to do the things we want to do in the situation we're in right now to become that ideal version of ourselves? And what about mentally? If you suffer from a mental illness like I do, and when I feel depressed, I think, well, I'm not myself. And again, just going back to the idea of what would that ideal self, that old me, that perfect version of myself, that ideal version of myself be thinking right now, just to channel her, just to get her there. If I'm feeling depressed, having a lot of depressed thoughts and feelings, then what if I just say, what would that ideal person be thinking right now instead? And just pretend that she's a separate person. She doesn't have to change your thoughts or override your thoughts. She just has other thoughts, and you are having these thoughts right now. So let's just ask you, who are you? And who do you want to be? Can you get to that person right now as you are? Or do you need to have moments of, hey, this is not me. This depression is not me. These thoughts are not me. These donut cravings are not me. Or alternatively, maybe we just want to accept that we are ever-changing beings that have ups and downs, and that is our true version, and that our mental breakdowns and our highest highs are all versions of us, that we are our best self in all of those moments. When we have the hormone changes, when we have the depression, when we have our mental breakdowns, when we have the highest highs, when we feel at our best, what if that was all our ideal version? What if that was us? What if that was what makes us our true self? What if that was the old me and the new me and the current me? What if that just was me? What if I just was a combination of all of it? What if your chronic illness and this pain wasn't sucking the you-ness away, the person that you are? What if it was actually building you up? What if it was creating the exact person that you should be? What if it was creating the ideal you? These hard times, these physical and mental illnesses that we have, what if those were the building blocks to create the perfect version of you, right? It's like when you prune a tree, you cut it down so that it can grow bigger and better, right? What if those things that are pruning us, that are attacking us in some ways, what if those were actually what was creating the best version of us? I don't know. I know this is a lot of random thoughts, and honestly, should I even post this episode on the internet? If you're listening, it's too late. It's been posted. But hopefully it just sparked some thoughts in you. I don't know if this was helpful to anyone, or this was just me like having all these scattered thoughts and being hormonally pregnant and just like word vomiting them on you. But I don't know. Just something to think about. So who are you? Think about it. Let me know in the YouTube comments of this podcast, and let's just end it there. Yep. I'll see you on the next episode. Bye. Hey friend, do you find value in this podcast but want to take it to the next level? Work with me one-on-one or check out Chronically Me, the course and workbook. This course takes the things you are learning on the podcast and helps you apply them directly to your life. This course dives deeper into changing your thinking, teaching you how the brain works and how to maximize your life with chronic illness. I designed this course as a companion to the podcast. The podcast gives specific, real-world examples, and the course helps you put them into action. If you want personalized one-on-one help from me, I got you. I also offer individual coaching programs where we can talk about the problems you are facing. I'll help you manage your brain and find solutions to nearly every problem that you have. We will walk hand in hand on this journey together. Check the show notes or the video description on YouTube for more information on getting extra help from me. Talk to you soon.